Welcome to NFL. Close your eyes and let the story begin. When elder brother, Tabrez Hassan, returned home after many months, the house seemed utterly transformed. Many new things had been added, and the cleanliness was remarkable. Maruf Hassan was not home, and Mehru was somewhere inside one of the rooms. For a long time, he stood there, quietly observing his surroundings. Vines clung to the walls. Beds of jasmine and chambeli had been planted along the edges of the courtyard. Nearby, a clean little bowl filled with water had become the gathering place of tiny sparrows who flocked there eagerly. The fragrance of flowers mingled with the cheerful chirping of birds. Colorful dupattas hung drying along a line stretched across the courtyard. A faint, long-forgotten smile appeared on his lips. He was suddenly reminded of his late mother. In her lifetime, the house had always been kept just as lovingly adorned. Maruf Hassan had been very young then, but Tabrez himself had been old enough to remember well. His mother's features were still clear in his mind, her affection, her tenderness, her gentle care. Every little thing returned to him in fragments of memory. It has been a very long time, but at last, this house too has found life again. Dusting his shoes, he turned and found her standing before him. Her dupatta drawn modestly over her head, she was shy and hesitant. He placed a hand upon her head. For reasons he himself could not explain, his eyes filled with tears. Without saying a word, he patted her head gently, then walked to the door of his room and began unlocking the padlock hanging there. "Baray, you have been well all this time? You were gone for so long." "Yes."
"I was well," he replied quietly, opening the door and stepping inside. "Shall I bring you something to eat, or perhaps some tea?" "No, there's no need for anything," he refused gently. She turned back toward the kitchen. "After so many days, at least something," she murmured to herself as she set water for tea upon the stove. The house had become a place where guests might arrive at any time, so she now kept something in the refrigerator. She took out some kebabs and fried them, made potato chips, and placed them with tamarind chutney on a tray before carrying them to his room. It was the first time she had entered his room. She stood there, astonished. Huge piles of newspapers and papers were scattered everywhere. Books lay in heaps. A computer sat beneath layers of dust. Everything seemed buried under it. He had lifted the bedsheet and was using it to dust a chair. The windows were shut tight. The room filled quickly with swirling dust. She began coughing involuntarily. He turned in surprise. "Leave it, Baray. Let me do it, please." No, that isn't necessary. It's fine," he said, taking hold of the chair. She placed the tray before him and quietly left the room. "Good heavens, what sort of creature is this Baray?" she exclaimed later. "He stays locked in that room all day, eats no more than a sparrow. The light in his room burns all night long. And have you seen the room? One can hardly breathe in there, impossible to stay even a moment." She sat on a charpoy in the courtyard, massaging oil into Maruf Hassan's hair. "He's always been like that," Maruf murmured sleepily. "Writes for newspapers, works for 4 or 6 months, then spends the rest of the year wandering." "But where does he spend it? And where does he disappear for so long?" "He travels from country to country, wanders from place to place. But for some reason, he never finds peace. It's your good fortune he returned this time so soon. Otherwise—" He turned onto his side. Mehru stood up. "Does anyone live life like that? It's absurd." His lifestyle began to disturb her intensely. She endured 2 days with difficulty, then, finally, compelled by her restless heart, she entered the storeroom. "At least I can make his room livable." She sorted everything in the storeroom and then scrubbed his room thoroughly, washing the floors again and again, cleaning the walls and ceiling. She dragged the bed into place and arranged everything carefully. Meanwhile, inside his own room, Tabrez Hassan kept turning from side to side. "This girl can never sit quietly," he muttered irritably, "always creating unnecessary commotion." He was disturbed. Several times he lifted his pen while writing, only to throw it back on the table in frustration. Lines of irritation deepened on his forehead. At last he rose, intending to say something, but when he stepped out, he walked straight out of the house. His room remained open behind him. For Meru, it was a golden opportunity. She rushed in. Books lay scattered everywhere. She gathered them up, dusted them, wiped them clean, and carried them to the other room where she arranged them neatly. Newspapers were tied into bundles, half-written manuscripts, blank pages, cassettes, CDs, magazines. There was even a rusted pistol. The wardrobe overflowed with clothes that looked as though they had not been worn for years. There were numerous albums and countless photographs. "Dear God, how many things he has preserved here," she murmured. She did not dare to throw anything away, so she organized everything where it was. The writing table was cleaned until it shone. Even the table lamp was placed properly. By early evening, she finished her work. Opening her dowry trunk, she took out a beautiful bedsheet and spread it on the bed. She arranged vases with flowers, and finally closed the door before going into the bathroom. After bathing, her body ached with exhaustion. She lay down on the charpoy, just for a moment, and fell asleep. Some time passed. Then, suddenly, perhaps thunder rumbled or lightning struck, or maybe there was some loud bang. She awoke with a start. Someone was speaking loudly. Alarmed, she rose and hurried toward the door, but stopped abruptly. It was Bai. "I ask you, how dare she enter my room and touch my things? At one time, I needed 20 different things from that room. What, should I shout around the house every time I need something? There were hundreds of phone numbers written on my table. She has wiped them clean. I can't find the newspaper clippings. My visiting cards are missing. My books have vanished. Has that ignorant girl thrown them all into the stove? Even staying here for 4 days has become unbearable. I suppose I'll have to arrange a flat for myself." Poor Maruf Hassan had only just returned from the office and was caught in the middle of this storm. Meru stood hidden behind the door, listening. She was shocked, troubled. If it had been anyone else, she might have marched out and answered sharply by now. But now she stood frozen. After all, the fault was hers. Maruf Hassan had warned her clearly on the very first day. But who remembered that now? After speaking for a long time, Tabrez finally fell silent. Only then did Maruf Hassan enter the room with his head lowered. Without saying anything to her, he lay down on the charpoy. After standing beside him for a few moments, she quietly left. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Tabrez Hassan sat on a chair, jaw clenched, eyes red with anger. One foot tapped restlessly. She approached slowly and placed a diary filled with phone numbers before him. Then she opened the desk drawers. Visiting cards, newspaper clippings, and many small items were neatly arranged inside. "I had arranged another room for you. The books are there, too." She could not say more. He raised his head and looked at her. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her nose red. She stood there like a sulking little girl. For a moment he seemed to see her exactly so. With a long sigh, he rose. "I'm sorry, Meru. I'm not used to this. I mean, when anything of mine is moved from its place, it makes me restless. If I had known you were working so hard for me, I would have stopped you earlier." Though he apologized, the tone of his voice remained strangely formal. She left the room quietly. A little later, she saw him standing before the door of the beautifully arranged room, peering inside. Hope stirred faintly in her heart. Perhaps, seeing such a lovely room— nicely arranged, he said at last. But return my books to my room and lock this one again. It may be useful some day. To hell with you and your books, she muttered after he left. Let the room rot as it was. All that effort for nothing. She slammed the door shut. The effect of that one incident lingered for days. She remained subdued and gloomy, while Maruf Hassan continued teasing her. Oh, our industrious lady! You might have consulted me before displaying such household expertise. At last, she grew so annoyed that the very next day she packed her bag. I'm going to Mother's for a few days. If you have to eat dry bread for 4 days, perhaps you'll appreciate your industrious lady then. The following day, Maruf Hassan took her to her mother's house. He stayed the night there as well. They chatted happily, stayed awake late, and devoured ice cream together. Aini fried papad and brought them in. Mother sat upon her prayer mat, muttering, "Oh dear, oh dear." But no one paid her any attention. Eventually, she gave up and went into another room. Zebi, however, seemed unusually quiet. When Meru asked, she laughed it off. I have to do your share of the work now. Meru fell silent, like a guilty thief. Zebi has been treated unfairly. She was older than me. The feeling of remorse engulfed her again. How she had cried before her mother. This cannot happen, Amma. How can I be married before Zebi? I will not marry. But her mother had been merciless then. To me, you are both burdens. What difference does it make which stone is moved first? Zebi would laugh deliberately in front of her, but the hollowness in that laughter was painfully clear. All the dowry items had been made in Zebi's name, by Zebi's own hands. The embroidered tablecloths, crocheted pieces, silk-embroidered dresses, woolen sweaters, macrame decorations, countless things. With what heart must she have handed them all over to Meru? Whenever Meru thought of it, she lowered her gaze. It was the end of the monsoon month of Badon. The rains of Sawan had passed quietly, but now, when the downpours began, they refused to stop. Mother busied herself plastering the roofs with mud, yet some damage always occurred. One day, Meru finally spoke up. Maruf Hassan insisted so much on repairing the roofs, but you refused. Now look at the trouble we're in. One corner leaks today, another tomorrow. People live in such comfort, and we spend our lives battling these hardships. Oh, so marriage has taught you to speak boldly, her mother retorted. Why should I spend the boys' hard-earned money when we manage well enough? Do the rains last all year? Just 2 or 3 months. They will pass. You have seen hardship. Now you have comfort. Life always has troubles. Should we go begging favors from others? Her mother had her own logic. Yes, now the beloved son has suddenly become someone else, Meru muttered under her breath. 4 or 5 days later, Maruf Hassan called. Shall I come to take you back? Meru refused sweetly. Let me stay a few more days. He agreed obediently. She had taken the call from the phone booth at the nearby mall. Her mother was with her. As they entered the house again, her mother asked, How many more days will you stay, Meru? Why, Amma? Is everything all right?
Her mother smiled nervously. Don't be offended, but leaving your home empty like this. Boys are careless, and your house is so full of things. If someone enters— And what about food and other matters? Meru laughed. Very well. When he calls again, I'll ask him to come take me. Her mother was delighted by her obedience. She stayed happily another week or 10 days, then returned home with Maruf. But a new problem awaited them. 3 days later, orders arrived from Maruf Hassan to go to Karachi. It was a 3-month assignment, with twice the salary. The factory there needed all its files updated. There was so little time that Maruf Hassan could hardly think. He signed the orders and returned home to pack. Meru created quite an uproar. "Why didn't you refuse? How will I live here alone? What kind of rule is this, to send you away without our consent?" "Oh, come now. It's only 3 months, Meru. You won't even notice the time pass. Who knows when Bare-Bai will return from Islamabad? Otherwise, I would have sent you to your mother's house. Tell me yourself, who will look after the house? Be a little brave. Ammabi protected her home alone all her life. Can't you do this much for your own home? Just 3 months. Double salary. Think what we can build with it." He spoke gently, stroking her hand. She looked at him with tear-filled eyes, still full of complaint. At last she agreed. The evening Maruf Hassan left, Bare-Bai arrived the following afternoon. He had apparently been attending a seminar. From Maruf Hassan, she had learned that he wrote crime stories, true incidents, real characters. He visited prisons and interviewed prisoners. He had connections with newspaper editors. Psychologists admired him. Investigating the roots of crime, the motives, causes, consequences, was his passion. Many murderers and violent criminals have even requested him to write their stories, Maruf Hassan had once said. At the time, Maru had wrinkled her nose. As if that's a respectable occupation. Now, who knew what adventures he had returned from? He went straight to sleep without eating or drinking, and the next morning slept until late. From the very first day, she had called Kala B from next door to stay with her. Kala B, unhappy with her daughter-in-law, came eagerly. Sometimes she returned home briefly, but mostly she spent her days dozing here. She advised Maru as well. "Now that Tabrez has returned, you might as well go stay with your mother." "But his job is like that, Kala B. Sometimes here, sometimes there. How long can I keep leaving my own house and sitting at my mother's?" Maru replied. Yet inwardly, she herself felt strange restlessness. She searched constantly for work to occupy herself. When she finally lay down, sleep remained far away. "Oh God, when Maruf Hassan was here, how peacefully I slept in this same house." She turned restlessly. And that radio, what a wonderful thing it was. We would listen to songs all day and never feel lonely. After a long time, she remembered the radio again. One day, finding nothing else to do, she and Kala B made flower beds in the courtyard. They planted coriander and mint in some, jasmine and chambeli in others. She filled clay bowls with water for the birds and scattered millet across the courtyard. When tiny sparrows descended, she would sit listening to their chirping for long stretches. In the midst of this loneliness, a mild fever seized her. Her body weakened. She lost interest in work and cooking. Whatever came to mind without care. Kala B's experienced eyes noticed, but before she could speak, Maru suddenly felt dizzy one day and collapsed to the ground. Kala B panicked. Bare-Bai was in his room. Seeing her unconscious, he too became alarmed. His Suzuki car was parked at a friend's garage. He ran to fetch it, then hurriedly drove Meru and Kala B to the hospital. When Meru regained consciousness, she felt terribly weak. A lady doctor stood over her, staring critically. "Some tests will be needed. These modern girls," she muttered before leaving. It was Meru's first time in a hospital. Frightened like a timid pigeon, she sat quietly upon the spotless bed. The tests were completed. Kala B kept looking at her with a knowing smile. Soon, a nurse came running with a report. She was a lively young girl, bursting into laughter as soon as she entered. "Congratulations! You're going to be a mother!" "What?" Meru blinked. What an impertinent girl, she thought indignantly. What nonsense she is saying, and in front of Kala B. "I've already congratulated your husband too," the nurse continued cheerfully. Honestly, he looked so worried. Probably the first time. "What?" Meru shrieked. "You shameless girl! He is my brother-in-law, my elder brother." Overwhelmed with embarrassment, she hid her face in her knees and burst into tears. "Oh, sorry." The nurse vanished quickly. After laughing heartily, Kala B sat down to comfort her. Soon, the prescription arrived. Just strength tablets. She should eat meat, apples, and pomegranates. Meru stepped outside. From a distance, Bare Bai saw them and stood up. She avoided his gaze and went to sit in the back seat of the car. When Kala B suggested buying fruits on the way, he stopped the car and stepped out. "Bare Bai, I need to make a phone call," Meru said courageously, pointing toward a nearby public phone booth when he returned. But he ignored her words, got into the car, and started the engine. She pressed her lips together in hurt silence. How rude, she thought bitterly, as if he hadn't even heard. They reached home. Bare Bai went to park the car. Kala B immediately put meat on the stove and forced Meru to eat sliced apples. After quite some time, Bare Bai returned. Meru lay in her room with her eyes closed. Without calling anyone, he went into his room and sank into his chair, stretching his legs onto the table. He lit a cigarette. Suddenly, the nurse's words echoed in his mind. "Congratulations! Your wife is expecting, and she is perfectly fine." The bitter smoke drifted before his eyes, slowly forming the shape of a face. Ah! A soft sigh escaped his lips. Half lifeless, he leaned his head back against the chair. And if she had been here today, walking beside me, my companion. The redness in his eyes deepened, moisture gathering at the corners. He reached out and opened an album lying nearby. Photographs spilled across the table. In every picture, the same face. A vision of beauty and grace. What had they been to each other? Nothing. And yet, everything. For 6 years, he had lived just by seeing her. He had no compulsion, but she had many. Patience, waiting, promises, just a little longer. But when that time finally came, life had betrayed her. A tear slipped down and touched his chin. What remains for me now? Nothing but sorrow, pain, sleeplessness, restlessness, the venomous serpents of regret. From whom have I not tried to escape? From home, from the city, from life itself. Heart, mind, soul, everything is empty. What all you took with you, Liba, and what all you did to me. The cigarette slipped from his fingers and fell to the floor. The dim room quietly absorbed his silent tears and muffled sobs into its darkness. A long time passed. Then his mobile phone beeped. He switched it off absent-mindedly and tossed it onto the table. Suddenly, he remembered something. Meru wanted to make a call. Annoyed with himself, he went straight to her door and knocked. She was lightly dozing under the effects of medicine. Startled, she sat up. "Come in, Bare Bai." He entered the room and held out the phone to her. She hesitated. "I want to speak to him. Please dial the number." As she spoke, she studied his red eyes and troubled face with careful attention. But before she could ask anything, he handed her the phone and quietly left the room. Maruf Hassan had wrapped up 3 months' worth of work in just a single month and rushed back home. He arrived laden with gifts, presents of every kind. And why shouldn't he have hurried? The storm Meru had unleashed over the phone had been enough to shake anyone. All my life, I longed for the support of a father and a brother. After so many years, when I finally found support in you, you left too. I cannot live like this. I am your responsibility, Maruf. You must shoulder it yourself. Let others handle the work that belongs to you. I will not accept that at all. No matter how much he tried to interject from the other end. Hello? What? What did you say? She wasn't listening. She poured out everything in her heart, vented her frustration, and then abruptly hung up. After that, he reassured himself by speaking with his elder brother. Then he threw himself into work, day and night, finishing whatever remained. When he finally returned, he was noticeably weaker, his complexion pale, his body exhausted. Even then, Madame spared him no mercy. Now go on, show yourself. This factory has drained every drop of blood from you." During that time, Amma had also come by once. She had insisted that Meru return with her, but Meru gently refused. The cost of good food, medicines, and medical tests. How could it all be managed there? Here, every facility was available. There was no shortage of money either. What did 2 or 3 people cost to maintain? In just a few months, she had managed to save a respectable sum. As Amma was leaving, she had dropped another remark into Meru's ears. "This elder brother of Maruf's, he seems like a good man to me." She left the sentence hanging in the air, as though sinking into some private thought. That very evening, after seeing Amma off, Meru sat quietly in the fading dusk, feeling a little melancholy.